Beer time breakdown.
Beer time breakdown.
So, hey, what's up, fantasy people? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Jason, the lucky bastard youth and Walt, coming at you live from the West Coast. And this is the Fantasy Footballin Show. Today's episode, we are going to go all over our preseason predictions. We're going to drink a lot of beer. It is the Beer Time Breakdown. So it's going to be a fun episode because we are going to go over all the terrible stuff that we predicted. But I think that you will find that it's mostly like 60-40 correct, maybe 55-45. Who knows? I think it's over 50%. So that's still better than you'll get at Vegas.
50% of the time, it works every time. So
there you go, man. Jason, before we get into shout outs of specific people, can you please tell the public how they can help the show?
Alrighty. Yeah, you guys could definitely help us out by sending a couple of subscriptions our way. We really appreciate it. We put a lot of hard work into this. We're doing our best to entertain you guys and do what we love. If you guys could send us a couple of likes too, that goes a long way. Leave some comments. We love the comments. We love the interaction with people. And if you guys want some more content, check out our Instagram at the Fantasy Footballin Show.
There you go. Thank you, Jason. We got 2 new subscribers today, man. Amazing.
Awesome.
I had a terrible week at work. Bosses suck, if you know what I'm talking about. And Mr. Tibbs, dude, Mr. Tibbs ribs, Mr. Tibbs in general, man. Thank you so much. And then new subscriber, you like this, Jason. Michael is of Barrett's Barrett.
Oh wow!
I'm surprised
that
username wasn't taken, man. So
I know.
Hey, that's an awesome name. I love being an individual. Thank you so much for subscribing to the show, man. Like, you guys do not understand, or woman, whatever. I call women man. That's how I do it. It's a huge motivation to us, especially in the off season, Jason. Big day.
Big day, big day. We love it. And it's crazy to even think that we're kind of closing in on 100.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I was like, dude, we were just talking about 50, how it was like impossible for us to get 50 over and over again. And then I know you sent me a message saying that we've had 200 episodes out, but that's not really episodes, or videos.
Yeah.
But like, I went back, we have under 104. I think we have like 130 actual episodes. But still, dude. And we went through all of our old stuff. Thank you for sticking with us. If you're an original subscriber, hey, you had to deal with some stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. Where you at, Matt?
Hopefully he's okay. And also, I do want to apologize. I'm going to be pretty nasally tonight, and that is because I am sick, and I did not take my medicine because I wanted to drink. So I didn't want to mix my medicine and drink.
That's very smart.
So today, beer is my medicine. It's an antidepressant. It's a confidence booster. It is a pee maker.
Drink the sorrows away.
All right, Jason.
Wait for the sickness tomorrow morning. Drink.
All right, the people want to get into this episode, so let's stop wasting time.
They want to know. What was right, what was wrong. How did they do this year? And
so
they're going to figure it out.
Dude, there you go. Fantasy MVPs, Jason. My moniker, my middle name was built upon this, this player. And that player was...
Hold up. If anybody was here in the very beginning with Tyler's very first video, this guy was Tyler the Waiver King Ward. And because of this, Tyler, you know what? Just so everyone knows, Tyler did this on his own. No one said anything about it. He went out and did it on his own. And Tyler, why was that? Why did you change your name? What was the purpose of it?
The purpose was I laid a big turd, and that big turd was in the form of a 5'10", 185-pound person named James Cook. So he's going, super, super late. I mean, I think it's like 10 or 11, something like that in my 10-man league. and he has potential to be. I mean, I think he's going to be a top 20 running back regardless at the end of the year, and he is not being valued as such. So James Cook, fantasy MVP. Miami, you saw 5 targets, 4 receptions. And I was like, dude, that's what I'm talking about, man. Watch this. Tyler Waiver King Ward.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
I think you even put him out on the waiver wire show. Like, this is a guy you got to pick up. Let's do it. Here we go. 11 carries. He's gonna be hitting it.
I mean, but the Buffalo Bills were looking. So now, if the Buffalo Bills have turned into a Kansas City Chiefs team for me, I don't care who the running back is. I'm probably not going to draft them. I still really, really like James Cook. It's just a situation that he's in, man. Like, unless Sean McDermott develops a run game at some point, it's just never going to happen for James Cook. I would be interested though, Jason, if they got rid of Singletary, I would consider it, but I don't think that they would get rid of Singletary without getting like a big body back in there.
Yeah, so I'm with you, dude. They throw the ball way too much. I was on the James Cameron. I was on the James Cameron ship. I was on the
Titanic.
It sunk. I was on that James Cook train, dude. I was like, they drafted this guy. This guy is great. I don't think he dropped a single pass all in college, on 78 targets. This is the guy that's going to be, for some reason, they still didn't run the ball as much as they should, and they still didn't throw the ball to the wide receivers as much. I think if Singletary is gone for some reason next year, what does Singletary go in? Like the 4th or 5th round?
No, it was a little bit later, but
a little bit later than that. I think James Cook is just going to probably go in that same round. If Singletary's gone, James Cook's going to go in there for like the 6th or 7th round.
Sorry, dude. UPS just showed up. My dogs are about to go nuts.
Oh.
But yeah. But I was just like, I remember your dad drafted James Cook was drafted early ish in our league because we're all James Cook believers, and people were watching my episodes, all my fantasy MVP. I had 6 viewers.
There were 5 of them was from our league, trying to get the inside of
exactly, dude. So like, yeah, so he probably went a little bit higher, but dude.
So this is I'd like to bring you in some herpy cream that you could buy at Rite Aid, and you gently just okay, we're good.
Sorry guys, if you have dogs and you get deliveries, you understand. And my wife, dude, orders from Amazon all the time. Jason, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, whoa, man.
It's their second hustle is
Amazon orders. But what was I saying? I was talking about James Cook, right?
Yeah, that he went a little bit early in our league.
Oh yeah, dude, 46th ranked running back at the end of the season. So it was not great if you drafted James Cook.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where he is a good player. They should have used him better. They should have done more in the run game. But you said it, Tyler. They're going to be like the Chiefs and just want to pass the ball, pass the ball. And so running backs on the Bills, running backs on the Chiefs, you're not going to see me getting them. No way, not sir, not today, not tomorrow, not next year, unless it's a little bit later in the draft.
Hey, I do want to say, hey, also Banjo wants to Banjo's back on the show. I was watching an old episode. Sorry about that. Once my garage becomes available again, Banjo will be back. But dude, Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Last time he was offensive coordinator, they actually ran the ball. It's interesting to see, it'd be worth, dude, I think Pacheco might be worth like a late pick just because Matt Nagy's going to be the offensive coordinator this time.
Well, I mean, that's what I just said. Like, I'm not going to get him unless they're later picks. I'm not going to get him probably where everyone else is getting them. Okay, I'm going to get him a little bit later.
But what do you think about that? Matt Nagy actually being the running, he didn't do anything. And, it's not like, well, Montgomery ran the ball quite a bit relative to this year. So I don't know.
Yes. But when he was the coach for the Bears, Montgomery sucked. And the reason why I know that is because I had him on my team. They didn't utilize the running back as well as they should have.
Okay. Well, so now you know why I'm called Big Third Ward. But guess what? When I Google Big Third Ward, my name pops up. So we're keeping it.
Huh.
Right?
That's pretty cool.
No, I'm serious. I mean, my hair is all jacked.
I know. I would say that probably happens to me, but I think just entering my last name on your
I was gonna say, dude, there's like 3 people in the world. There you go.
yeah,
Your mom, your dad, and you.
and they all look like me.
Hey, man, if you want to have, well, you can't because he's taken. I was gonna say, if you want a kid that looks like Jason, just go get with Jason. All right, Jason. Next up, after that, we have Fantasy Beasts and where to find them. So that was our play on, the Harry Potter spinoff. If you know, if you get it, that was pretty funny, right?
It was, and I remember going back watching the video, and you were like, "My wife was watching this horrible movie called Fantasy Beasts or Where They Come From, or
Dude,
Fantastic Beasts of Where They Come From," and I was like, "Maybe I should do Fantasy Beasts or Where They Come From for the next episode." And it was down. It was done. We did it. You and I
that
both.
movie, that movie had like 6 names. It was like Fantasy Beasts, Where to Find Them, something, 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 or something, Revenge of somebody, something. It was, dude. I was like, what the hell are we watching? I hate this.
Yeah, I gave up halfway. I'm like, you get it.
Yeah. So, Jason, we're gonna hit 2 birds with 1 stone, even though I would never hit a bird with a stone unless I was really hungry. Then I would throw it in a pan and saute it.
Yeah.
But Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jason. So he broke the Lions receiving records with most yards and most catches last year. So he had 912 yards and 90 catches last year. He had no fewer than 10 targets a game over the last 6 games. That's crazy. And he was fantasy wide receiver number 2 over that span, which is the most important span in fantasy.
Just in December alone had 35 receptions, and then he had 7 touchdowns in the last 6 games. The guy is bing bang bong. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Both had him. That is Egyptian for the sun god. Ra, all that kind of stuff. If you watch Stargate, you know what we're talking about. He was amazing last year. He won people fantasy championships. People think of him as a disappointment this year, and I was like, dude, give me a wide receiver that gets that many targets, that many opportunities. Yeah, touchdown regression. But how do you feel about him being on your list of fantasy beast?
Yeah, I still liked it. Like the touchdown regression really sucked just because it was like that was one of his biggest things in the last like 6 games of the year last year, but he had like 7 touchdowns. But he was still putting up points in a PPR league. I think he could have even done even better if he played the whole season, right? Especially in that offense that Jared Goff was running. I still like it because he went in kind of like the like 5th, 4th, 6th round around that time. And in the PPR league that we're kind of basing this off of, he still ended up 7th. So you got him kind of later than most people, and he was injured, but he was able to be 7th overall in wide receiver fantasy points.
He was 8th overall, half PPR, which is what we always recommend people do. But regardless, though, dude, like I like to see averages as well. And I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown he went down a little bit as far as average. Like DeAndre Hopkins was actually above him. Michael Thomas was above him, and that's pretty much it. So I think he was number 10 and as average per game. But still, dude, you drafted him as I can't remember what he was drafted as, but he was still like he outproduced his ADP no problem.
Yeah. One of the things I'm sorry, Tyler, go on.
No, I was gonna say I didn't give a pause after I said Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I just realized
we're learning. We're learning.
This beer, dude, is messing me up.
I believe it. Well, just taking a look back at his numbers, in week 2, he had like 35 points that game. That's definitely going to help out the average sum. But starting in week 10 to about week 13, he definitely helped you to get into the playoffs where he did 17, 10, 23, 29 points. Playoff time, he was averaging around 10 points, which is like, it's not great in fantasy time. So there's a good chance that he probably got you to the fantasy playoffs, but he didn't help. He didn't help you win it.
I mean, yeah, you're looking at 10.5, 8. I mean, if I get 10 points from my wide receiver, I mean, that's probably, I want like the floor to be that in a half PPR league.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he hit his floor twice, but, it seems like people, I remember hearing, this all coincided with Hawkinson leaving, kind of, when he kind of like, quit producing. But I'm expecting James, was it Jameson Williams or Jameis Williams?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Isn't Jameson Williams?
Jameson Williams, that amazing wide receiver. He's going to take a lot of pressure off of Amon-Ra on the outside. So it's like, if you want to double him, maybe, because I really believe in that guy's talent. And dude, Dan Campbell's a tight end coach. I would be surprised if they didn't have a tight end like high on their. They need nothing but defense and maybe offensive line. Their offensive line was really good, but still, dude, defense. I was just listening to Colin Coward on this. Just go all defense. They need a cornerback so bad. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Campbell, drafted a tight end.
Yeah, I can see that happening. But one thing I wanted to throw in here is that Amon-Ra Brown last year had a lot of touchdowns within the 5-10 yard line. That was replaced this year with Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams was that guy. What did he get? Like 15, 17 touchdowns? He like broke the Detroit Lions rushing record. He broke Barry Sanders' record. So they were relying more on the run game than actually trying to find him in the goal line.
Yeah. All right, Jason. So, and going into next year, Amon-Ra Brown, I really wouldn't mind. This was kind of big news today. The offensive coordinator for the Lions decided to stay. I think his name is Brian Johnson. And he just like, dude, I love it here. I love it here. I love it here. Oh. I would not mind having Amon-Ra Brown as my number one. He's almost like a new Keenan Allen type. Yeah, I wouldn't mind him as my number one wide receiver next year. Jason, how would you feel?
Yeah, especially if it is a little risky just because I saw the injuries this year, but he's shown that he could put up numbers, and we got another year with Jared Goff under that system. So if they could get like more talent, kind of like on the defensive side, and like maybe that tight end to kind of also help relieve pressures with Jameson Williams, we're also talking about. Yeah, that dude. He's a killer in the middle, and they also like to give him the ball to run too. So as long as they could find some ways to relieve some like defensive pressure off of him, yeah, he could definitely be like a number one next year.
Yeah, and coming from like Pro Football Focus, I can't remember if that's their name. They're like the people that grade every player. They say that the Lions need interior pressure on the defensive line, so look for them to get probably defensive. You need to get if you're going to get a really good defensive lineman, you need to get him early. So look for them to get a defensive lineman early over anything else. Jason,
yes,
we both had the same fantasy beast on the first one. My second was James Cook. Dude, we already went over that. Beat that horse to death. Big Turd Ward. I do want to ask though, would you draft? This is the only question I'm going to ask really about James Cook. Would you draft him next year? And I think you already answered this.
Yeah, it would have to be super late for me to get him, just because I'm not going to trust anybody in the on the Bills running game. Just so people know, in Week 16 against the Bears, he did have 15.5 points in half PPR, and the week before that, he had 10 against Miami. So if you had to start him in the playoffs, in the fantasy playoffs, it probably helped you a little bit. But then most championship weeks in Week 17 against the Bengals, he had absolutely zero. I don't think he played.
All right, Jason. So we already went over those two. There's no reason to talk about those. I do want to talk about your man who you hyped up before I did, even though I called a fantasy emergency. I was all about him. I drafted him. Dameon Pierce.
It looks like he's going to have great vision, and he's going to be difficult to tackle. The one thing that's going to be kind of risky about picking him is that the Texans are likely going to be playing from behind most of the season. So if he's going to get his points, it's going to probably need to happen in an earlier part of the game, like the first half.
Dameon Pierce. This was the guy, like, I had him in I was really big on this guy. I just I remember they drafted him in the draft, and he shared his time with somebody else. For some reason I can't remember. Did he share his time with James Cook? No, James Cook.
No, it was Rex Burkhead.
No. In college, he played for Florida.
Oh, Sorry.
There was another Florida running back that he had to share a sign with. Anyway, so he didn't get as much. He was actually kind of like second string on that team. So I was just like, whatever, dude. This guy's forget about him. But when I was like watching, I think it was actually against the 49ers. I was like watching that preseason game. I was like, this guy is kind of a baddie. He's kind of a baddie. I like him. The way that, I mean, he's not quick. I said that he's actually pretty slow, but he's pretty strong, and his vision is great, and he could break tackles like nothing. He actually, that drive in that preseason game I watched, I was like, damn, he was actually looking pretty good. This is going to be a little secret guy that I'm going to probably pick up a little bit later, because they had Marlon Mack on their team, the Houston Texans. But I was like, there's no way they're going to keep Marlon Mack starting all year when they got this guy behind him. Well, they kind of knew that too, because I think it was a week later after the San Francisco game, they released Marlon Mack and said Dameon Pierce was going to be the starter. So it was one of those situations where, like, okay, well, now people are going to know him. Where are they going to pick him? I was trying for him. I think, Tyler, you got him, right?
I drafted him too early. I mean, I thought it was a steal in the beginning because I think I got him 4th round. And
Well,
that was because I knew like we say, know your draft. Know your draft. I mean, I knew that the youth and Wolts were hot and heavy. Very hot and very heavy. Sorry. And so, you know, if you think you can get, you got to reach sometimes, dude. Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
I forget the question.
No, it was just, we were talking about, so you drafted him. I think, I know I was definitely going after him. I think you got him a week or in a round earlier than what I would have. He was kind of like up and down this season, you know, but also when I was kind of explaining in the episode that I was talking about him was just that, yeah, he's going to be a good running back, but the thing is, he's going to get most of his points in the first half, because the Texans were horrible, and they were going to have to play from behind in the second half, which they're going to have to rely on throwing the ball. So I was like, this guy's going to have to get most of his points in the first half, because most likely the Texans are going to be down by a bunch going to the second half and might have to even abandon the run. With that being said, too, like, it looked like, I'm just like, he had one big game. He had a couple. He went 17 points against Chicago, 26 points against the Chargers, 17 points against Jacksonville. When he went up against Dallas, it was his last game of the season. He scored 11 points with a touchdown. And then, you know, he missed the remainder of the 4 games. He actually ended up 27th overall. With that being said, I think he definitely still has like the potential. I think maybe where some people got him might have been a little bit too early, but if he could have played like, okay, so we're also going off like, we don't know when injuries are going to happen, right? I mean, he could have played the last 4 games and done very well and even got in the top 20 of running backs, but I still like Dameon Pierce, and I can't wait to see what the Houston Texans are going to do in this draft. I do not like DeMeco Ryans as their coach, though. They just replaced one defensive coordinator coach or one defensive coach with another one. So
I do want. I think he bring. I think he's bringing over the offensive coordinator from the dude
from the Niners.
He's bringing over somebody pretty important from the offense. I can't remember what it is. Damn it, dude. I was listening to sports radio because they did their, you know, Isaac Lowencroft with the news, blah, blah. Anyways, like he said, DeMeco Ryans is bringing this guy. And I was like, oh, wow, that kind of makes a big difference. Like if he's going to bring somebody from there and implement the system on Davis Mills. And Davis Mills had an amazing, really rookie season. And then terrible last season. And that had a lot to do with, I drafted Brandon Cooks and, you know, as a number 2 wide receiver, or number 4 or 3 wide receiver. He sucked. I don't see it being much. See, I almost like a defensive coach there because they're going to run the ball a ton. Like DeMeco Ryans, dude. I mean, Kyle Shanahan ran the ball a ton. And now this is a defensive Kyle Shanahan guy. So I could see that maybe being good. And then if you bring over the offensive court, we need to check and see. I'm going to check and see, Jason, who they brought over.
Before we get excited. I get what you're saying. I'm not 100% on board with that. I mean, you could bring over all the coaches in the world, but when you got your quarterback who can't throw the ball to anybody, Who's he's going to throw the ball to? Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks went out. He was missing games with like some fake injury just so he didn't have to play. I don't think a defensive coach is going to help a quarterback situation. They're going to have to draft a new quarterback, and they're going to have to boost up that defensive line because they were like worse in the league in run defense. Like,
Yeah, now that you mention it, they're probably going to spend a lot of draft capital on defense there.
yeah,
Yeah, and you never, I mean, dude, you can go through, I mean, it's been beat to death, but like, if your defensive coaches are not doing well for quarterbacks, so yeah, you're probably right. And it's not, but I'm just thinking running back, man, maybe the running back might be good. I mean, Robert Saleh with his running backs and everything else, but they don't have an offensive line. I think just Dameon Pierce is gonna be something that we need to monitor through the preseason. His preseason was amazing though, if you watch that.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, this is a guy that I would like to have next year. I just won't. I do not want to get him where he was picked up this year.
What running back would you like him? Your number 2 or your number 3?
Oh, that's pretty tough. Right now, I guess number 2. I'm seeing him as number 2. Damn it, Tyler. Why are you asking me these tough questions? Okay, number 3. I would like him as a number 3 flex. Put him in a flex.
So I had him as my number 3 running back this last year. Guess what, people? Guess you got last place in their fantasy league. That matters the most. I got, second place in a good league. But the one that matters to me, I got last place with Dameon Pierce.
Well, you should
have my 3rd running back.
You should have put him as number 2 running back.
Well, my wide receivers were as follows, and we'll talk about just preseason hype, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Can't predict injuries, that's for sure.
All right.
Okay, Jason.
I don't know.
This is a pride point for you and I both. My number 3 fantasy beast and where to find him was Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. That's what my prediction is. And he's getting drafted in the 14th round as like quarterback 27. Way late.
Oh yeah. We were pretty big, pretty high on Jacksonville this year.
So, Jason, was that long enough of a pause?
Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect.
All right, cool. Because I did that the first time too, the last one too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm learning from my mistakes. People, this is why you're here, man. You're seeing this is BTS. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, BTS, bro. BTS, bro. Got that BTS.
So Trevor Lawrence, Jason and I mean, it's like hyper talent. And it's like after that whole Urban Meyer debacle, I just really believed in Doug Peterson turning it around, dude. Because nothing but Doug Peterson has gained so much respect in the eyes of the NFL for Carson Wentz, like, and me as well. Like, that's all I heard the whole offseason. So I was like, dude, take a Trevor Lawrence, like the next, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck. And I guarantee he's going to do well. So I heavily invested into the Jaguars in my preseason, whatever I'm trying to say, predictions. And Jason, I know you did as well, but not in our fantasy beast, but we'll check this out later on. Trevor Lawrence, Jason. I mean, I think I said he was going to go like in the 14th round.
Yeah, you had him like pretty late, and this guy was great at where you picked him up at. He could also probably be a fantasy MVP. If you got hit, I know there was number of quarterbacks that people got before Trevor Lawrence. Let me name a couple: Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know exactly the stat that I have. He ended up 7th. He ended up 7th in like PPR. He was like right next to Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins had a great year, statistic wise for fantasy football. This was one of those. I know this was probably what a lot of people were like even thinking about, because if you drafted him, you probably had him on your bench, and then you were seeing like the first week he had like 13 points. Second week, 18. I'm like, you're like, okay. The third week, 24 against the Chargers. You're like, okay. I see this guy. I'm going to play him. Then you got 4 points, and you're like, okay. I'll go. You know what? It was a bad game. I'll do another one. Then he gets 9 against Houston, and you're like, WTF to that. bye, boy. You're going on the bench. You're going on the waiver wire. Tyler's going to talk about you at his next episode saying, get this guy for $1.
I did.
But with that being said, I had some players on my team that wasn't able to do well. And I had Kyler Murray, who got he tore his ACL from that wonderful Phoenix or that Arizona Cardinals grass. So I had to pick him up and I had to put him in. And this guy from like week 10 starting against Kansas City, the week before the bye, he was 20, 26, 16, 34, 31, 18. Yeah, 4 against Houston and then 10 against Tennessee. But those are divisional games. That kind of sucks. But he definitely got you to the playoffs. He definitely helped you get to the playoffs, and he also helped you get further in the playoffs.
Jason.
Yeah,
you're right all about that. And Ray just pulled up my wife. It's about to get crazy in here.
Oh, the dog's gonna go crazy.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about your fantasy beast, because Trevor Lawrence was amazing. We're going to talk about him later. Let's talk about your number 3. I think the only one that we didn't hit on this year really, but he really helped you out to win a playoff in the playoffs and maybe even win a championship. So when it mattered the most, he did well. Dalton Schultz.
I think Schultz numbers are really going to increase, and where you could get him in the draft, I think he's going to do better where he's getting drafted from. I think he's going to be a top 3 tight end.
Yeah, this was a guy I was big on just because of what was happening in Dallas. And I was like, you got to get this guy. But my prediction is that I was like, this guy's going to do well. He's going to kill it. I said that this guy was going to be a top 3 wide receiver. And, well, from the first game on, that kind of was the downfall of me. Because, he had 7 receptions in the first game against Tampa Bay for 62 yards, right? So he had 9.5 points, or we play in a half-point PPR. He had 9.5 points. And then Dak Prescott went out, right? And then he dealt some injuries too, so he missed some games. So he had 0 points, missed game, 0 points, 0 points, missed game. And then Detroit, I think, was the game that Dak Prescott came back. He started back on with 5 receptions, 49 yards, 5 targets. His value started to pick up a little bit, and then they went into the bye. But the one thing that I struggled with him. I mean, this guy, he ended up as in PPR the 10th overall tight end in PPR. So if there's 12 people in the league, this guy was likely on a starting team. You were starting him as your tight end on your team. The downfall is I just had it. The downfall is when it came to week 17 in your championship week, this guy scored 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions, 56 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he definitely helped you win a title. But the games before that,
he outproduced Kelsey, dude. He outproduced Kelsey.
But the games before that, week 16, 5 points. Week 15, 2 points. And then against Houston, he had 6 receptions, 87 yards. He had 11 points. He was kind of like it was like every other game with this guy. So I did project him to be number 3. He definitely wasn't number 3. But he was in the top 10. So I go 50-50 on that. And then with that being said, I think he's going to be a free agent this year, and the Cowboys are going to go to their rookie tight end. What's a Hendershot, whatever his name is. I think that dude's going to be he's going to be a sleeper for next year.
And where does it look like Dalton Schultz going to go? Did he already get traded away?
No, he's probably going to go somewhere in a free agency.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about where he'd go, but I can't. Oh, like the Lions. Hey,
Okay.
The Lions might be doing better. I already heard about maybe them trading for Jalen Hurts, or not Jalen Hurts. Jalen Ramsey, but instead of just drafting a cornerback,
Yeah.
But hey, man, I think a tight end would be really good for Jared Goff. So, Dalton Schultz, I think you covered that, man. Like, I mean, what are you going to get out of tight end anyways? Where you drafted him, you probably by the end of the year you got your value out of him, so it's kind of weird. And then offensive coordinators are changing. What Mike McCarthy might start playing is going to supposed to start calling plays, Jason, right or no?
So they say.
And tell me the last, great tight end under Mike McCarthy, and I will say thank you.
Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah, that's
Jermichael Finley.
Jermichael Finley, and that
Shannon Sharp.
Oh, Shanahan, dog. So I can't even talk like that. I can't even try. That's ridiculous. I can't even do I can't even do it.
It's actually what was it? Didn't his brother played for
Sterling Sharp.
Sterling Sharp. That's what I was.
He doesn't look or sound anything like
Mike Holmgren.
Shannon Sharp.
Under Mike Holmgren.
All right. So, Jason.
Yeah.
That is all of our fantasy beasts and where to find them. Should we get into other things, or do you want to just take a break real fast?
I think we should take a break. I got some kombucha to drink.
Oh, God, I was like, what?
I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna be like, you know what? You know about them Raiders, man? They don't even care, man. They're gambling all the time, dude. They're gambling on their lives.
What the heck, dude? You look like a Raiders fan right now with your blackness.
I'm all black. I was actually practicing my ninja moves before I came in here, and I turned off all the lights. I was trying to see if the dog could see me.
That was actually a really nice black sweatshirt. I mean, I can tell you, your black hat is pretty stained, but man, your sweatshirt's on point.
So this shows that I don't mess around. This shows I come here professional.
All right, people. So when we get back, we're going to go over the top 5 quarterback receiver stacks. So just, not tight ends, not wide receiver, but just receiver. And all that didn't hurt your team. Also the top 5 quarterback running backs. And then we're going to go over Jason's very popular panic players list to fill your roster. Like, I don't know what to do. I need a player. I need him now.
That was pretty good. That's exactly how I picture people when they're on this. And they're like, what do I do? What do I do? I got to do it. I'm just going to do it.
Tim Brady, mother effer.
All right. Yeah, we'll come back and we'll finish up. All right.
Okay. What's up, people? We back. So, Jason just told me, and I heard about it anyways, but apparently it's official. Eric, Jason doesn't know anything I don't know. All right.
I heard about it anyways, but he told me. That was funny.
I heard about it anyways. Everybody has friends like that.
Right.
Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator, Sam Howell, and I think Jahan Dawson is the one that I'm pretty excited for, and not Antonio Gibson, dude, Curtis Samuel. I think Curtis Samuel could be interesting as well, but Jahan Dotson, dude, 2nd year wide receiver bump, Kansas City offensive coordinator. I think that's good I think it's bad for Eric Bieniemy, but I think it's good for the Commandeers.
You know what? Who it doesn't help? Brian Robinson. I feel like he's going to stay the same.
There you go, dude. I mean, I wasn't really excited about Brian Robinson anyways, but now that does take away some from Brian Robinson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Brian Robinson's kind of a bell cow. They're just going to feed him the ball all the time. But, what do we always talk about? Chiefs don't run the ball. No one worth actually getting from their team. So we'll see. I think that's going to be an improvement for the Commandeers, but they still need to get themselves a quarterback.
I like how you said Commandeers as well. Mm-hmm. So, Jason, our list that we're going to go over next was my preseason list of top 5 QB receiver stacks that won't hurt your team. So like sometimes you stack wide receivers and quarterbacks, like maybe it's a running quarterback and you try to stack him with a wide receiver. That's not a good idea. This was just kind of a stack that would, most beneficial type of stuff. The first people, Jason, were, I think, I don't know if it was 14th and Tua. I think you get Tua super late and Mike Gesicki even later. So Tua and Mike Gesicki, 14th and 11th round.
I don't remember exactly the rounds. I want to say
11th and 14th.
Dang it, Tyler.
Jason doesn't know anything I don't know.
So Tyler was going to get Gesicki. Jetski at at number 11 and Tua 14. Yeah, I'm trying to put in. So I mean, Tua, you know what? Tua was going to be that pick this year that probably could have been the fantasy MVP, but that guy's all busting out concussions and stuff like that, and he had 2 of them. Yeah, he's got CTE now. Just kidding, patent pending. But you know what? That one of the options that I thought was going to be for Tua, who was going to really do well, because he's a talented tight end. He could do well if presented the opportunity. But I think in the end, there wasn't too much in there wasn't enough pie for Mike. What do you think?
So my whole logic was Mike McDaniels was the one that coached up George Kittle and told him that he needed to block. And then once your tight end starts to block and is a believable blocker, then he can do play action passes and do all this stuff. And so I was like, dude, Mike Gesicki, dude, same thing's going to happen with him. Same thing. Because I'm a big believer. I mean, I always listen to, I can't remember who the people are in Tight End University. They go on some radio shows, but they always talk about Mike Gesicki being the next big thing. So, I heard that. And then Mike McDaniels went there. I just thought he was going to be the next George Kittle, especially with Tua, super accurate, short throws and stuff like that. And hey, dude, Tua was a godsend. I mean, I was a Trey Lance owner. I mean, the first 2 weeks were the worst thing ever. And then, I picked up Tua and then he got concussed. But after that, man, Tua, killed it for me for a while. And like I said, if I was Tua's parents, I'd probably pull him from football. Because, dude, that guy just got, literally, dude, I would just fear about his safety. And I would not blame him for taking a step like Andrew Luck in it, But anyways, Tua, I think, outperformed his ADP by far.
Oh.
And Gesicki was a terrible pick.
I'm sitting here looking at Tua right now. And Tua, oh, man, actually, I could just look right here with our PPR, and this guy, he was in the top 15 last year, and this guy missed 5 games. He missed 5 games. And one of the games that he played, well, I mean, I guess it's against Cincinnati. It's the team that he did the whole gang signs type thing.
The fencing movement, yeah.
He only got 2 points, but this guy overall averaged 18. He averaged 19 points a game in a half-point PPR that we played. In a full PPR, he was in the top 15. I think that's a great pick. If this guy would have played the additional 5 games, he's possibly getting a top 5. He had the weapons on his team, but I think overall, I think Mike is a good tight end. I just think the problem is there's not enough piece of the pie for him, and he's going to be the one that suffer, right? Because they got Hill, they got Waddle, and then they got the running game. So I think overall, because I think we were going in this maybe thinking they weren't going to do as well. Maybe, I don't know. I kind of thought the Dolphins were going to play as well as they did, and maybe have to not try to use their running backs as much and use the jet ski. But yeah, in the end, he didn't perform. He didn't perform well. He only averaged about 4.5 points in non PPR.
So, and Jason, if I could change that pick, I think that Tua was a good pick. Waddle would have been the other good pick. I did not believe enough in Waddle. Tyreek Hill went there. I didn't think there was enough. But dude, Waddle, as long as Tua's playing, Waddle's worth picking up.
Yes. I mean, I'm totally on board with that too, because you see it, you watch the games. There's only two people that Tua throws the ball to. It's either Hill or it's Waddle. And then every now and then he throws it to somebody else. But those are the two people he's only going to throw the ball to. He throws the ball 30 times. We're seeing 15 targets with Hill. We're seeing about, 6-7 targets with Waddle. I think that's the end result, right? We thought it was going to be a little bit different with Hill being there, but no. He's definitely trying to utilize his wide receivers.
Yeah, dude. And like the plays that Mike McDaniel's like designed, like, dude, the first 2 quarters were incredible for Tua. Like you get like 17 points in the first quarter. It's crazy. Anyways, moving forward, Jason, moving forward.
Okay.
Dennis Reynolds says that because there's something going on. Dude, my number 4 was quarterback, receiver stacks. Another tight end in here, Jason. Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, because they had a great preseason together.
Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert. They got a touchdown in the preseason if you saw it.
Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert. Yes. I do believe this was probably a good pick. This was you couldn't go wrong with this type of stack, right? I think the only downfall is that Dallas Goedert. How many injured games did he miss? Because this guy missed 1, 2, 3, 4. He missed 5 games with an injury, and I'm very unfortunate because it was like the very beginning of the it was like week 11, and then he didn't come back until week 16 against the Dallas Cowboys. In the playoffs, the championship round, he only got 7.5, 5.5, and 7 in half-point PPR. But leading up before that, dude, this guy was a killer. He was a killer. I really wish, like, my person, I would have wished, like, other than Dalton Schultz, I should have said Dallas Goedert. The only thing was, it's like, because of Jalen Hurts' accuracy has not been the best in the past, like, 2 years. I think I said before, it was like 55% to 61%. I was like, I didn't have a whole lot of faith in the Eagles, but he was able to jump that up to like 66%, and Dallas Goedert was part of the reason why he was able to jump up.
Yeah, dude. So Goedert going into next season, they're going to pay Jalen Hurts. They have 2 elite wide receivers, but as long as Joe Dirt is out there, I want a piece of that. But like, I'm not going to invest highly in him. He might be kind of like in that dead zone where I'm just not going to pick a tight end. But if I could get Dallas Goedert on my team, I wouldn't feel so bad not getting the Travis Kelce's or Mark Andrews. Like, I'd feel pretty good.
Yeah, if you want to wait a little bit, because we talked about it all year, Tyler. It was a tight end wasteland. It was a tight end wasteland, and sing it, brother, tight end wasteland. And the games that Dallas Goedert played, I mean, he averaged half-point PPR. It was 9.2 points a game. That is
top 5. That's top 5.
That his average points
and half PPR is
okay. Because for us right now, it says like 8. It's just in ranked 8. But
no. If you just go per game
is 9.2.
Yeah, and that's top 5.
Right. So that was top 5. If he played, every game, he did miss like 4 or 5 games. He could have got even higher. Injuries, no one can predict injuries. If you can, you should make a podcast about it on a YouTube channel. I would follow it because I got some players I always like a little iffy on. But yeah, this was like his first year that he was actually missing that many games. Like, this is a guy on the Eagles that I want a little piece in. I want a little piece. I want that pie. I want the Dallas Goedert pie next year if I'm not going to get, Mark Andrews or Kittle pretty early. With that being said, Tyler, their offensive coordinator is gone.
Yeah, so they lost to their offensive coordinators, but I was listening like Peter Schrager on this. Apparently there's like a 35-year-old that's the quarterback's coach. He's going to get promoted probably with him. And then there's
That's me. I'm actually flying out to Philadelphia this fall to sabotage the
there you
Eagles.
go.
So
and
the
then
Cowboys
a 40-year-old defensive somebody. So, but anyways, Jason, moving forward, my next pick was Matthew Stafford and Allen Robinson. So this is where it gets really, really bad.
So Stafford's going on the 10th, 11th turn. I had him last year. Nobody really cared about him, and he was a great quarterback for me. So he's not going to be a top 5 quarterback, but he's going to be a top 10. And that's going to outperform his ADP, which is great. And then A-Rob, he's going in the 7th round, and there is so much potential for him to be a high-end wide receiver 2. So, like number 15, number 18, something like that when the year's over with. So
we cannot predict injuries, but even when Matthew Stafford was playing well, Allen Robinson sucked.
So this is Tyler, the big turd ward. This was one of those situations where you and I differed because you were for Allen Robinson. I was not a big Allen Robinson guy coming into this league. Or coming into this year. With that being said, it didn't matter. Was there anybody on the Rams that you really wanted?
Cooper Kupp?
I mean, no, but Cooper Kupp didn't even finish the year.
Oh, like at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that was
a disaster. It was a disaster year, so.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, who really thought this was going to happen with the Rams? I was sitting here, I'm like, these are the defending champions. They're going to put up some numbers. Matthew Stafford's last game was against New Orleans in week 11. And by that time, he was only averaging 12 points a game. This quarterback on the defending champions of the Los Angeles Rams was only averaging 12 points a game in 10 games because they had a bye week in week 7. And then Allen Robinson was the same way. This guy only played until week 11, and then he was out for the rest of the year. This guy averaged only 6.5 points per game and a half-point PPR. I don't think a lot of people really thought that the Los Angeles Rams were going to they're going to crumble cookie as much as they did this year. And I tell you what, I wasn't one of them. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did.
Yeah, and I mean, Allen Robinson didn't play the whole year. So, I mean, but when he did, he actually caught the touchdown his last game. But, dude, I mean, what was expected of him was so much. It was crazy. And so, yeah, he was a huge disappointment. He was drafted, like, I don't know, 5th round or something like that. Like right behind the around the Courtland Sutton issues and stuff like that, which was a disappointment as well. So like, yeah, terrible pick. I apologize, but hey, dude, going into the league, I really thought that Sean McVay could revitalize, Allen Robinson, and Matthew Stafford just came off of that amazing season. I owned Matthew Stafford the season before, so I had a lot of faith in him. And then, Jason, let's get into my next disaster. Trey Lance, George.
Trey Lance, George Kittle. Trey Lance he's one of the guys. He could be a top 3 quarterback. He's got potential. George Kittle could be a top 3 tight end. He's got potential.
George Kittle actually ended up being okay because George Kittle's amazing when he has a quarterback. I knew that. And he was being drafted like way late considering, Mark Andrews and everything.
Yeah.
I think Kittle ended up, if you drafted Kittle, you might have traded him, but if you kept him, you're probably okay with it. And then at the end, because Brock Purdy was his dude, but Trey Lance, I was a Trey Lance owner, dude. I believer. Cost me 2 games, Jason, to start with. And then I dropped him, dude. I think I dropped him after like week 4. Or no, he got injured, so I dropped him as soon as that happened.
Trey Lance, George Kittle. That was one of the things that, like, you were very big on Trey Lance. You really liked him. That was another thing where I wasn't a big fan of Trey Lance. But, you know, he showed, I mean, being in that offense with Kyle Shanahan, he had he had the weapons. He had the running backs. He had the potential. He's a running quarterback. He has the potential to throw up big numbers. Unfortunately, he went down in week, was it 2, Tyler? Week 1? Week 2?
3.
Week 3. I think this is week 2 against Seattle.
Week 2, yeah.
Week 2 against Seattle. So, you know, he missed most of the game. But we can't, you know, you can't predict injuries, you know. Who would have known that? I mean, like the first week against the Bears, it was like the craziest like rain. It was like backyard football, you know, in Chicago. Like you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. What if it would have been played in San Francisco? Could have been something different. Unfortunately, he got injured and he was out for the rest of the year. Kittle, I think he was just a product of the game plan because he wasn't going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, even with Jimmy Garoppolo in the beginning, you're like, okay, he's played with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's going to put up the numbers that everyone knows that he's going to put up, and he's going to do well. But he didn't do well until the end, until the first Brock Purdy start in week 15. Then he put up 26, 28, 10, and 16. So if he had this guy in the playoffs, which the guy who won our fantasy football league did, he probably won you the league, which our guy did.
Yeah. Okay. So, Lance, Kittle. Are you drafting Lance next year? I've heard what Vernon Davis just came out and said, Lance is the dude. You're not drafting either or. I mean, Brock Purdy, if you know it's a sure thing. But I don't think that Trey Lance is going to be a sure thing until like week 3 or I don't, dude. It's going to be tough. What's wrong, Jason?
No, my wife's here.
Oh, you're all what? Hello. That's a good way to tell me you wanted to say something.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, next season I'm only probably drafting Kittle regardless, and that'll be kind of like in that dead round that I really don't want to draft a tight end, but I still like George Kittle. And then last one, I think it was my number 1, Jason, Trevor Lawrence and Evan Engram.
Trevor Lawrence and Evan Engram. Don't laugh about Evan Engram. He caught a touchdown in preseason game 1 from him. So, and if you heard all the reports from training camp, they have a good connection. So,
oh man, you pushing through this fast. Well, and you know, in the beginning, you know, I said it before that I was like, people are not probably a big fan of Trevor Lawrence right now. They don't understand what they need to do with this guy. And it wasn't until probably later in the season, like a couple of weeks before the fantasy, that he started or the fantasy playoffs before he really started to blow up. And people were like, dude, I got to start this dude. I really got to start this guy. And Engram, like, hold on. Engram was a guy who basically, like, when he got to like the midpoint of the season, this guy killed it. I bet you this guy was on the waivers for most of the time throughout the year because people didn't know what to do with him. This guy was putting up 1.5, 2.2, 4.0, 0.5, 2.2. But from week 13, which is the week before the fantasy drafts or fantasy playoffs, this guy put up 11, 34, 10, 15. Fortunately, he put up 2.5 against Houston in week 17 and 4.0 in week 18. But he was putting up numbers to get you into the playoffs and to even push you far in the playoffs. If you had Evan Ingram's on your team there at the end, him and Trevor Lawrence, those guys, if you look at the number also here, let me also compare to
No, dude, Trevor Lawrence didn't do well. He got 18 points against. He killed it versus Dallas, 31 points. But then he got 18, and dude, in the finals, he got 4 points.
Well, that was the same as Evan Engram. There was something with that Houston game, but leading up to that in week 12, he had 26, 14, 34, 31, 18. Combine that with 11 points from Evan Engram against Detroit in week 13, then 34, 10, 15. This combination at least got you to the playoffs. Unfortunately, I guess against that Houston. But you know what? Wasn't that Houston game? They only played half the quarter because it didn't really matter, and they were playing Tennessee for realsies.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's what happened for both of them.
Exactly, and they didn't need to push it, and Houston sucked. But at New York Giants, at the New York Jets, that's a tough play. That's a tough defense to play and get 18 points against, anyways. But I think the big thing is that he, even at the Jets, the reason he scored points was 7. He went 7 for 51 at a touchdown rushing. But I think the big thing is about him is people don't think about him being a rushing quarterback, but he really is. So
he did it in college.
Yeah, he's no Jalen Hurts, but he's at the I can't remember our tiers of quarterback, Jason, but I'm pretty sure he's in the bottom tier that I'm targeting next year because I really want a good quarterback. But I would love to have Trevor Lawrence next year.
Yeah, this guy is not as fast as Lamar Jackson, but he's faster than Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and dude, he's got all the talent to back it up, and the pedigree and everything. He's like LeBron James of football, pretty much. LeBron James. My phone's all cracked. It won't work. I'm trying to see. Dang it. Oh, there we go.
The pizza is there yet?
What'd you say?
The pizza is there yet?
Dude, I wish. Are you ordering pizza tonight?
I don't know. We were going to order from this place called Old Spaghetti, but from DoorDash, that thing was like, we're going to be over $100. I'm like, nah.
Oh my. For 2 people?
Yeah. I'm like,
what?
We're going to Popeyes.
Dude, well, even Little Caesars is expensive. It's crazy. If you pick up Little Caesars, it's still a good deal. But if you get it DoorDash, it's expensive, man.
$7 ready. Remember Tyler back in the day? It was like you and I would go get it for $5. Hot and ready for $5.
A lot of times I get with no sauce. It'd just be cheese bread. Now I can't even eat cheese. I'll explode. I'm like the bomb on Die Hard 2, man. Nobody knows where I am or when it's gonna explode.
Hey, man, did you hear about Bruce Willis?
No, I haven't heard. I actually read it, and now I can't remember.
He has dementia.
Maybe I have dementia.
Hey, did you hear about Bruce Willis?
I don't know. I read it, but now I can't remember.
He has dementia.
Maybe I have dementia. That's terrible, Jason. You're a terrible person.
Why do we do this, man? We love Bruce Willis movies.
All right. Oh, Evan Engram, Jason. I do want to say that, dude, he was number one. He was a first round draft pick. And my whole thing on him was hyper athletic, dude. What's his name? Zach Ertz was amazing with Doug Peterson as offensive coordinator. I don't know if he was the offensive coordinator, but as a head coach at least. So that was my reasoning, and it paid off. And I don't really see anything changing next year. They will be getting Calvin Ridley, and it'll be weird to see how Zay Jones might fill in the inside, because I don't know if Zay Jones is actually a inside is a slot receiver, but I would still feel pretty good about Evan Engram being my tight end next year. I think he's in the Dallas Goedert type range.
I totally agree with you, Evan Engram. I don't think there's anything to worry about for him next year. Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, I do believe that there is some potential of you losing some targets, some reception. Marvin Jones he is in a contract here. I don't think they're going to bring him back. They shouldn't bring him back. Cal Ridley is going to be the dude. He may not start off that way, but it'll end off that way. Oh my God, this beer is hitting me. Or this kombucha tea is hitting me.
What?
I feel it in my chest. When it comes up and you feel in your chest.
I thought you were my Indian whistle, my Native American whistle. Oh,
Remember, we can't hear blowing wind on the microphones. It is something that we will try to upgrade for future years because people want to hear us blow wind into the microphones.
All right, Jason.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, my puppy of a Welsh Corgi was locked outside. If you can hear that, she's going crazy.
You are a terrible dog owner, dude.
I thought she was barking at my wife. Oh, here she comes.
Oh,
2 hands. She's flying. Have you ever seen a flying dog before?
I thought you were talking about your wife. You're like, here she comes, and it was the Kirk.
She's coming in. She's coming. Watch out, people.
Thank God, I thought you were talking about Ray, and then I saw
Everybody, keep your mouth shut. Don't talk about my wife. All right.
No comments allowed, please.
Only if they're good.
Only if they're good.
Seats taken.
Seats taken. All right, Jason. So that concludes our list. And we would both be super happy with Trevor Lawrence and stacking that next year, to be clear.
Yes.
Lance Kittle in the works. Stafford, A-Rob, no thanks. Hurts, Goedert, go do that. Tua Gesicki, question mark, but probably not.
Probably want to do it.
So 2 for 3 there. Not the greatest, people.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, it's all right. Are you ready for the next one, Jason?
Yeah, I feel like I need some more kombucha tea.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, we're on to the next.
Oh my God, we got people.
Here we go. What's next? What? Oh my God, I'm clicking. I just clicked up Alexa. What's going on? Oh, you're not even here. Okay, everybody. This is what happens. This is live TV. We get replaced by a corgi who doesn't even want to look at us. She's looking at what's going on the east side of town. She's looking over there. We don't even care. She don't even care. She's like trying to fight out. Like, hey, I don't get an F about this fantasy football show. I don't know how it has 76 subscribers, but it does. But I'm not one of them. So, oh my gosh, Madison with the breath of mass destruction is here. Ladies and gentlemen, this girl has seen it all. She's been here since Super Bowl I, and she's still surviving and doing her thing that she wants to do. We are here at Super Bowl 58, but for some reason in dog years, that means she is 225 years old. I don't get it. I don't understand the math, but we're glad to have her. And she's even doing the way. She's waving. There's a movie coming out with Tom Brady about some like elderly people trying to get to go see him. You should watch it. Madison might be in it. Hello.
All right, people. My wife is out of breath. Apparently, she was making dogs fly.
Out of breath? Oh my God. I don't think I've ever talked so much my entire life.
Thanks, Jason. My neighbor came. He's super cool, but like he gave me oranges.
If he's not subscribed, he ain't that cool.
They keep on asking me what the channel's called, and I say, I don't know, man. I can't remember.
You're like ESPN Fantasy Focus. Good morning on NFL Network.
All right, Jason.
Tyler.
Quarterback, running back stacks.
Okay, so this is what's going to happen. You're going to explain your stack like as if it's some double cheeseburger at some lame McDonald's on the freeway. And I'm going to go grab myself another beer.
Thank you, Jason. I'm sorry about that.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, I'm going to grab myself another beer.
All right. So, like, I'm not a huge fan of stacking your quarterback with the running back, right? Because that like caps your potential for points. And if you're going for like, if you just want to be like the team that scores 180 points maybe in a week, that's not something that you really want to do. But there are certain running backs via, maybe Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler. My dog almost knocked out my light. That catch a lot of passes. Dude, Zonovan Knight this year, like if you would have stacked like that's my wife. If you would have stacked, no, you're good. If you would have stacked like Zonovan Knight and Mike White, yeah, Knight and White, dude, like that would have been an example of a late season stack that would have been really good for you. So
All right.
that's what we're going over, right now. So the first stack, Jason, is Josh Allen, James Cook.
You're going to get a lot of passing touchdowns from Josh Allen to James Cook, potentially 5 or 6. That'd be amazing.
We went over James Cook. It did not turn out the way that we wanted. So if you want to hear about James Cook, go back earlier in the episode. It'll probably be tagged. But Josh Allen, Jason, how do you feel about Josh Allen this fantasy season?
I mean, Josh Allen was Josh Allen, right? He kind of regressed in rushing touchdowns, but he still got rushing touchdowns. He still got rushing yards. The lowest. Oh my gosh! Do not drink beer and skip at the same time.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes, I'm here.
Hey, remember Clueless? Rolling with my homies.
Are you unable to hear me right now?
I can hear you.
Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So Josh Allen's lowest points scored in a half point PPR this year was 11 against Cleveland. Somehow, some way that happened. So in a full PPR, I don't know much of a difference, but for quarterbacks, but 11, it is what it is. Other than that, this guy pretty much killed it for the entire season. Okay, so check this out. So the next lowest points that Josh Allen scored in the half PPR is that he got 16 twice. 16 twice. And this guy was somebody that was really jumping crazy this year with his rushing and his passing. This is a guy that when your lowest is 11, but plus when you get 16 only twice, everything else is over like 20 points and above. Give me that guy in the first 2 rounds. I cannot hear you.
I think we talked about this in our top quarterbacks for next year. The mute button is amazing. That's the first time I misplayed it. And
what do you press? The space button?
No, dude, there's just a fat red button right here on my microphone.
Oh.
But like, I do think, what the hell was I talking about, Jason?
Josh Allen.
Oh, Josh Allen next year. I can't remember what the hell. Oh, who's the number? So Patrick Mahomes, I like number 1. People are talking about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts and dude, the people like I listen to sports radio, they say, oh, it's Rich Eisen. Jalen Hurts number 1, Justin Fields number 2. But yeah, dude, that's stupid. Jalen Hurts, man. Or Josh Allen is the number 2 quarterback next year.
Tyler.
I think. Yeah, what's up?
Why not? How come you're not putting Jalen Hurts as number 2?
I was going to say, but then I think we moved him up past Josh Allen after this postseason. But that rule is going to get taken out that we talked about. So who knows if Jalen Hurts is going to be as good. I would still like Jalen Hurts because of the weapons that he has. So I do think that Josh Allen's number 3 next year.
So you could definitely put Jalen Hurts in the number 1 spot or in the number 2 spot. Even if they take out that whole, quarterback sneak from the 3-yard line. And that's because it doesn't matter. They are running the ball within the first 10 or in the 10-yard line. They are running the ball. They don't want to throw it. They don't want the risk of having a turnover. So they run the ball, and they running it effectively for the Philadelphia Eagles. With that being said, their offensive coordinator went to the Indianapolis Colts, so things might change. But as of right now, I could definitely see Jalen Hurts being over Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen in quarterback rankings.
All right, let's sneak one more in here, Jason. Tua Tagovailoa, we already talked about. He's my number 4 with Chase Edmonds, who I really believed in. They paid him. He played for the 49ers with McDaniels. I thought he was going to come over and dominate.
Probably stream Tua and have Edmonds on your team all the time. But if Tua works out, it'd be great.
It did not happen. They ended up picking up Mostert and Jeff Wilson. I mean, it was all, 49ers backfield all together again, but Edmonds did not work out the way I thought. Tua, we already went over. I think he outproduces ADP. What do you think about Edmonds?
Yeah, Edmonds is actually on one of my panic players that you could get later in the draft if players are being picked that you have written down. You're like, I'm getting this guy in the 3rd, 4th, 8th, 10th round. If those players were gone, these were some kind of safe bets that you could go on. And I had Chase Edmonds there. Chase Edmonds just went and at the Arizona Cardinals had a pretty good couple of seasons with them. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Oh my Jesus, this beer is kicking in. You don't see it until you have to get up from your seat, and I had to go grab another one. But with that being said, I was like, this guy and Tua, Mike Daniels as the quarterback, as Mike Daniels as the quarterback, as Mike Daniels as the head coach, you knew it was going to be more passing. And I thought Chase Edmonds was going to be enrolled in that game some more, but he was not. He was technically so bad that they got rid of him. He went to Denver. Sorry for that. Sorry for your luck, boy. But you went to Denver. Then
Okay. We back, people. We back. Part 3. If you can believe it or not, man, this is going a little long, people.
you know what? That sounds like a baby doing something, but it's it's meant to be a kiss. That's weird.
I thought it was like a spring, just like unloading, braking under pressure. So we're going over our top 5 quarterback and running back stacks. Like I said, you don't really want to do that in general, but certain circumstances like McCaffrey this year and stuff like that,
right?
If they catch passes. So here we go. We went over the number 5 was Allen Cook. We went over Tua Edmonds, number 4. Now we're into number 3, Trevor Lawrence, who we've gone over repeatedly, and Travis Etienne, Jason, the young stud.
Because I really believe in Trevor Lawrence going on the 14th, which is, last. And then Travis Etienne, he's climbing up draft boards because everybody's pushing him, but I still like him where he's going. I mean, compared to some of the people he's going with, he's in the running back dead zone almost, and he's a running back I like. So
Travis Etienne, you've been saying it for quite a while now. I'm kind of big on this guy. I'm kind of big on him. He started off the season kind of slow, 6, 8, 3. But then that guy really picked it up, and he probably helped you get into the fantasy playoffs, which was what do you get? Starting in week 6 or week 5, he got you 12, then 11, then 18, then 23, 25, 7 bye, and then 0 against Baltimore. You need a little break. You started to work it up a little bit with 5.5. You need a little break. It's a long season. 3.0. But once you got into those fantasy playoffs, he was 12, 11, and 24.5 half-point PPR in the fantasy football championship. So I like this guy. I really do. I like him.
So, I mean, he probably outperformed his ADP by a little bit, but not much, because I think he was drafted right around Breece Hall. And Breece Hall, really exceeded his. You can't predict injuries, but Breece Hall would have been the better player. But still, Etienne, man, like a young running back, he gets 20 plus carries, on a good day.
Yeah.
But I do like how explosive he is, and in that Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson offense, I think it's going to be really good next year. So I think his ADP is only going to go up. He's going to be like a 3rd round draft pick. Something like that. He might even get talked up to a low 2nd, something like that. I would not mind having him. I'm not going to get him in the 2nd round. If he's a 3rd round, I'd probably think about it.
Yeah, he was actually on the guy for us who made it to the fantasy championship. He was on that team, and there was definitely times where he threw up, 12, 11, 24 points, 23, 25, 22, or 12 and 11 points that helped him get those wins to get to the point of the championship. And you know what? Overall, for the whole season, he didn't miss a game. He didn't miss one game this season.
You're right.
He missed all of last year, and this guy ended up being a position ranked number 16. So I'm kind of with you. I think he's going to do better next year. I think next year he breaks top 15.
Yeah, and as far as like carries go, he only broke 20 carries 3 times, so he's not like a workhorse. He never will be. It's kind of like it's not even like an Alvin Kamara. It's like a Alvin Kamara light, but I just you see Trevor Lawrence. If you believe in Trevor Lawrence, you have to believe in Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of attached at the hip for the first 3 seasons, and so this is gonna be season number 2 coming up. So yeah. Anyways, that's Etienne. Jason, next up.
Etienne.
All
right, what's up next?
I had my number 2. This is a big miss, but you cannot predict injuries. This might have ended up number 1, dude. Like, huge home run for me. Trey Lance and Elijah Mitchell. You were an Elijah Mitchell owner. We already went over Trey Lance. How do you feel about Elijah Mitchell?
Oh,
because that touchdown he threw, that was to that rookie for 70 yards. But that's his potential, man. He's going to have long touchdowns. He's going to have rushing touchdowns. Elijah Mitchell's going in the 6th round, which is where he should be drafted right now, because you don't know his health.
Oh my gosh. I never want to get anybody from running back from the San Francisco's ever again. This was a guy that, let me look. He was out in the first game. He was out in the first game. Then, you know what? I was like, dude, I drafted him so high. I think I got him in 4th round. He's the best available at that time. And then he goes and gets hurt in the first game. He only put up 4 points. Then it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus the bye. So week 10 is when he came back. And then he started kind of putting up numbers again where he got 8.5, but then he started slowing down with 5.5 and 4. Christian McCaffrey was on board. This dude gets hurt again in the New Orleans games, and then he missed Miami, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Washington, Las Vegas. Came back in week 18 against Arizona and put up 17 points. I think during that time they weren't going to play Christian McCaffrey as much. But with that being said, this guy, he has talent. He could do well when they're calling upon him to do something. But this guy cannot stay healthy. So now it's are you going to take a risk on Elijah Mitchell and hopefully that he can at least play 12, 13 games?
Yeah, and with Christian McCaffrey there, it was different, dude. 6 for 41. He looked amazing game 1. Got injured because I watched that. It was in the rain, Chicago. And then he came back and it was dude, 18 carries. He's going to take the load off McCaffrey. It's going to be great. And that was his least efficient game. It was at the Chargers, but dude, 9 for 59. That's almost, I mean, it's like 6 yards a carry. New Orleans, 7 for 35. That's what, 5. And then 5 for 55. Dude, that's like 11 and 2 touchdowns against Arizona. So he's still explosive. And like, I think he didn't play in the Jason. He did play in the yeah, he did. Where they just kept on handing it off to him and McCaffrey, right? Because Brock Purdy got injured in the divisional playoffs.
Yeah. But I mean that shouldn't go against him. The Eagles knew.
I think that was his first game back. That was his first game back. But dude, like, I don't think nobody wants anything of Christian McCaffrey next year. So I'm not Christian McCaffrey of Elijah Mitchell. Christian McCaffrey is our number 1 running back. So
especially when you see how good Jordan Mason was, it's like, get rid of Elijah Mitchell, keep Jordan Mason in there.
Yeah. So there you go, Jason. Our my number 1 stack was Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, because
he'll be a top 5 quarterback. He's getting drafted as a top 5 quarterback. So if you want to take him, I'm not going to blame you. And then Aaron Jones, he's been slipping. I've noticed he was going like, late first, high second. Now he's reaching the top of the third. So that's a good.
Dude, for the last, 3 years before this, Aaron Rodgers was doing so well throwing to Aaron Jones. All those wheel routes, catching touchdowns. And then this year came along. Aaron Jones did well for the first half and then just hit a cliff, dude. And I just saw that Aaron Jones re-signed, restructured his contract to be able to stay with the Packers.
Oh, Aaron Jones? Yeah, Aaron Jones is going to stay there as a Packer.
Right.
That was break not too long ago, right? Like that was like earlier today.
I just want to say this is what I thought about Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers in the past. Thanks, Pass Tyler. Sorry, man. This is all an experiment. Jason did so much hard work to put in these clips, and I'm effing it all up.
Oh, you're fine. I'm out of beer.
I wish I could. Man, so, if I drink any more, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I can't do this.
This was a situation where I saw in our league that we saw Aaron Jones. I think he was a first-round pick. I think it was Aaron Jones and then Nick Chubb by a certain individual in our league. And at first, it wasn't the worst thing, right? I mean, yeah, he had 7 points against Minnesota. The Packers just looked bad against Minnesota in that week 1. But then Aaron Jones, he put up 30 points against Chicago, right? He had 3 total touchdowns and I'm sorry. He had a rushing touchdown against the Chicago Bears. And then it was almost like every other game that he was actually performing well. Even against the Bills, this was the point where we're like, okay, the Bills have a good defense. This is not going to be a good matchup for him. I think it was a Thursday night, maybe, and one of us, maybe me, that did like a sit on Aaron Jones. But this guy, Aaron Jones, against the Bills, 20 carries for 143 yards and that night he had like 18 points.
Yeah,
but
dude.
I think people were getting him was expecting a little bit better. But overall, the Green Bay Packers were not playing as well. They're not playing as well as we or as expected. Most fans were thinking the Green Bay Packers were going to play as. We always see Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers behind center always doing well, right? Bombing it, rushing touchdowns, whatever it is, we always see the Green Bay Packers doing well. They start off pretty slow. The end of the season, like with like a 15, or not 15, like a 5-6 game winning streak. But if you had Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Jones in the playoffs in week 15, he got you 18 points against the Rams, and in the round 1 of the fantasy finals against Minnesota, he got you 13 points.
So I don't think Aaron Jones was a bust because he didn't hurt you, and yeah, he got 3 points. He might have killed you in the semi playoffs, but still not terrible. and he was pretty consistent throughout the year, considering for other running backs. And then Aaron Rodgers, I think, was the person that really hurt you. Jason knows this. He was like in the same boat with me, and when I drafted Trey Lance, we were both searching for quarterbacks. And you'd think that Aaron Rodgers coming off his MVP season was going to do something. I thought he was a value pick where you got him, and it was pretty much the same thing as Tom Brady ended up doing better than him, but it was him, Tom Brady, and like Russell Wilson, man, just veteran quarterbacks out not doing well.
Yeah, they all had that same. They're all in that same little tier of quarterbacks where people thought, and like, you know what, we could pick this Aaron Rodgers later, or we could pick this Tom Brady later and expect, top 5 performances, and then it didn't happen this year.
Yeah. So Jason, that's all of our. And what did Aaron next year, dude? Aaron Jones restructured his contract. Let's say Aaron Rodgers is gone. Would you mind having Aaron Jones?
Yeah, because I think if Aaron Rodgers is not there, they're going to rely on the run more. If it's
or just dump offs, just dump offs to Aaron Jones, because it's not like they have an established tight end. I mean, kind of, but not really.
So, like, I want to say, like, that person got Aaron Jones in the first round, and he ended up in a number 10. He was in the top 10 for running backs with averaging 12.3 yards a game, and he did so and so in the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers ended up with 15. He's position rank 15 with only averaging 13 points per game.
See, so not the greatest on the running backs list. I mean, the big hits were Lawrence and Etienne, and that was about it. So I apologize about that. I did much better on the receivers. But hey, dude, trying to pick pass catching running backs, I guess it's maybe not the most consistent thing. You'd think it would be. Now looking back, I probably should have picked Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler, but I just kind of thought that was I wasn't liking where Austin Eckler was going at the time because touchdown regression. But guess what, dude? Didn't matter.
He kept his touchdowns.
Yeah. So, do you want to get into the next category, Jason?
What is the next category, Tyler?
Your panic players and how to fill the roster.
Okay, here we go, Tyler. Let's do it.
The good news is, so Jason came out with a big hit. It was our most viewed episode, video in the beginning. It was a great idea. When you panic and you're just like, hey, dude, I don't know what to do. I do not know what to do. Tim Brady, mother effer. That's what you do. So anyways, Jason put it out. So when you panic, you get to pick one of these players. Starting off, top of your list, Jason, Trevor Lawrence. We talked about him. Huge success. Good call.
I think one of the quarterbacks you could get in round 12 is Trevor Lawrence. If you need an understanding why, go back and look at Tyler's video, Fantasy Beasts, and where they come from, or where you can find them, something like that. Patent pending.
Yeah, so you and I were both pretty big on this guy. It's pretty short-ended, but this was a guy that was getting picked 10th round and beyond, and he ended up as the 7th quarterback in PPR. That right there is already like, a huge pickup for anybody who waited on Trevor Lawrence. So that right there is a check mark in the Fantasy Football Show. Listen to us when you get the chance.
Man, my dog just headbutted me, and then she yelled.
Start licking at you. She's like, ew.
I'm sorry. Oh, she hit my eye. I just picked her up. I think I might have caught her claw or something. I'm sorry. Okay. That looks good. Jason, so Trevor Lawrence, we went over. Your next pick I thought was interesting. Derek Carr, Bakersfield boy.
So then you could go with Derek Carr. Also, you could get him in the 12th round. He's got Devontae Adams now. They played together in college at Fresno State, and that's just going to bump up his fantasy points. Now he's got Adams, he's got Renfro, and he's got Waller. As long as Waller stays healthy, I think his numbers are going to do pretty well, better than probably previous seasons.
Yeah, so part of the reason why I wanted to put Derek Carr in this list, because I know that nobody was going to go after him early. You weren't going to waste a top 4 or 5 pick on Derek Carr, but Derek Carr was getting his old college quarterback or a college wide receiver back, and I was like, dude, Devontae Adams is one of the most elite wide receivers in this league. That's got to boost him up at least a little bit. And you know what? This guy averaged 17 points a game. And for me, like when I want a quarterback that could get me between like 17 and 20 points a game. If a quarterback's getting me like 15 points a game, I'm like, you know what? I got to kind of look somewhere else because I need something that's going to get me close to Mahomes or Josh Allen's number. Derek Carr was averaging 17 points a game, and he missed the last 2 games. He did have a game against the Rams where he only put up 2 points, but
and New Orleans as well.
And New Orleans, he only put up like 2 points too. This is a video where you've seen Jason the Lucky Bastard drink kombucha a little too much, and now he's got a little nicotine pouch, and he's got to survive. He's got to survive. That's what we got to do. But this guy, Derek Carr, you know, he's a free agent this year. There was rumors that he was going to go to. He was looking at New Orleans Saints. But when you're averaging 17 points a game, I mean, the only thing is like his floor is so low, Tyler. His floor is so low.
That's the number one point, dude, is like, and Devontae Adams kind of complained about him backhandedly. Yeah, like, so it's great, dude. It's not like he's got the ceiling of some of these people, but he's got I think he might have the lowest floor in the NFL. And that's what kind of made him, you know, score where he was. But other than that, dude, is pretty much, you know, 16 points or higher, which is great. But yeah, dude, like I remember watching some games thinking Derek Carr was just terrible. So he visited the Jets today, and I think that he's either going to go to the Jets or the favorite, I think, is Carolina. And either way, I don't think I'm really trying to get Derek Carr next year. I'm trying to get somebody that's established.
Yeah, you know, I also see the New York Jets are trying to get Aaron Rodgers. I think they're just trying to keep their options available. But if he had to go between Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers, they're going to get Aaron Rodgers, right? There was a time where he was visiting the New Orleans Saints, but from what I understand, that is off the table now. And, you know, Derek Carr was released from the Raiders this weekend, I think it was.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to the Jets, though. I think a better fit for him, even though he's not going to perform well because they still don't have huge players that he could throw the ball to. I can see him going to Carolina.
Yeah, and if he goes to Carolina, I think it's going to be a little bit better than because Frank Reich is there. I think it's going to be a little bit better than. He'll probably finish the same if I had to guess. And then Jason coming up next. You actually had it. I mean, it was a good pick. I had to pick him up, and I wish I would have picked him up over some other players. Kirk Cousins.
Another one is Kirk Cousins you could get in the 12th round. Like, he's going to have some games where he won't clutch up there at the end. But when you're throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, and he's already considered to be one of the best fantasy players in the league going in like the first round.
Kirk Cousins, yes, I had him down as a late pick that you could get. But the only reason why I was saying that, like, oh, you should pick up Kirk Cousins because it's this and this. The main reason was because of their new coach, and they had the number one, Justin Jefferson on your team, right? So you got to get some points if you're just throwing him the ball. And in the PPR league, you know, he averaged 17.2 points per game, and he ended up number 7th in PPR.
Yeah, so oh man, lights are changing around here.
I'm sorry, he number 8th in PPR.
Yeah. So Kirk Cousins, man, I think that he did much better. I mean, obviously, he even plays better than Derek Carr. He's a better version of Derek Carr. his floor is not nearly what Derek Carr's is, even though he's got some terrible games like against Dallas. But yeah, dude, like to go out and draft Kirk Cousins, I think he's going to be exact same place that he was this year. He's going to be a panic player for next year. Like if you don't get all these top quarterbacks, you're probably going to panic and pick Kirk Cousins, and I think it might work out for you.
Yeah, he did have a game that he only put up 2 points against Dallas, where that was just one of those games where it was like a blowout, right? It wasn't like 40-10 or.
As much as I don't like him, I was just like, dude, you have to throw that game out. Like from the beginning, it was like such bad luck. It was like, and they just got outplayed at the end. It was just terrible.
Well, from the time that we started fantasy playoffs, he put up 28 against Detroit, 38 against Indy, 23 against the Jets, but he only put up 7 points against Green Bay, which was the fantasy playoffs for most people. And then in week 18, he put up only 13 points.
Well, who would you rather have, Jason? Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins next year?
Geno Smith.
Yeah, me too. And I think that's going to be the barometer is he's going to go in that tier. And if you're going in that tier, pick Geno Smith. Jared Goff even. I'd probably rather have Jared Goff, especially with the same offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be even Kirk Cousins is going down. He's still in the same tier, but he's just kind of like lowering himself next season. And then Jason, coming up next. I think we already talked about him. Chase Edmonds.
8th round, Chase Edmonds. I mean, why not? They just got rid of Sony Michael. Chase Edmonds is there in a PPR league. He's going to catch those footballs. He's a great receiver, running back.
Yeah, so he was a guy that I was so big on because he came from Arizona and he's a pass catching running back and he could catch the ball from Tua. Well, apparently no one else felt that way because he ended up getting traded to the Broncos. He only averaged 4 points a game in half point PPR, and he ended up in the outside of 50 points, or he ended up in the outside of the top 50. So not very good.
Yeah, and he came from the 49ers where he was hyper efficient, dude. I mean, he went, the 49ers acquired him I can't remember, last year maybe. But he actually did really well for them, like in the Jarrett McKinnon role maybe or something like that. And so everybody had high hopes and they gave him so much money, dude. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. And he was not efficient at all. Chase Edmonds was a huge bust for me. So next season, it doesn't matter. I'm looking for it. I'm hoping that they actually draft a running back. This running back class is supposed to be really deep and pretty good.
Yeah. I'd rather have a new I'm with you, Tyler. I would rather have a new rookie running back than Mostert or I would keep Wilson and let go Mostert and get a rookie running back. That's what I would do. But I'm not a coach. I'm just a fantasy football lover.
And then Jason,
yeah,
pretty excited about this next one. You almost hit this one out of the park, but you cannot predict injuries. You had Rashaad Penny.
I know I mentioned a handcuff player is Kenneth Walker because Rashaad Penny is, always getting injured. But I don't know what else they're going to do. Their quarterback situation is not great.
Because you know how he finished the year before this. Mm-hmm. He was killing it, dude. And nobody really gave him any respect. Nobody cared because it was pretty much because Russell Wilson left. Everybody thought Geno Smith was going to be terrible. You still leaned into Rashaad Penny.
You know what? It was more of the fact that I was like, you know what? No one knew what Seattle was going to do, right? They had Geno Smith as quarterback. Geno Smith was on the waiver wire for the good portion of the first quarter of the NFL. People were drafting DK and Metcalf. Wait, Lockett. DK, Metcalf and Lockett a little bit later because they had Geno Smith. So I was thinking that they were going to run the ball more, to try to rely on the run more. And I was just like, you know what? Rashaad Penny is injured prone. I did say that Kenneth Walker III was going to, they jumped up and got this guy. And I think it was the second round. that they're going to use. They did that for a reason. They really want to use him, and they're going to use him. He's eventually going to take over the starting role, and that was just if Rashaad Penny got injured, right? So this was like a projection as if Rashaad Penny didn't get injured, but he did, and he only played 5 games this year, and he had one game that was over 10 points where he scored 28 points and half PPR against the Detroit Lions of Week 4. After that, he didn't. He got injured. He was placed on IR for the rest of the season, and Kenneth Walker came in, and Kenneth Walker pretty much killed it.
Yeah, and like the first 2 teams he went against, we didn't know how good Denver he went against the top 2 run defenses the first 2 weeks. Denver and San Francisco. Then he did decent against Atlanta. Then he went off against Detroit, and then he was going to go off against. He was going to peak against New Orleans. He's going to peak, and when he peaked, everybody was going to know it.
Yep.
But then he got injured. But Jason, like I really do think that he would have had a great year, and I think that would have been a great pick for you had he not got injured.
Yeah, this was more of as if he didn't get injured, because he always gets injured, and this year he missed majority of the season. So I don't think Seattle is going to do anything with him, and they're probably going to get rid of him. Kenneth Walker came in. I was actually there at Week 6 in Seattle with Kenneth Walker, and that dude pretty much killed it. He looked amazing. He looked fast. He looked like he couldn't be touched. That really helped with Seattle. And Geno Smith had a comeback player of the year. He did what he needed to do to be well, to play well, to do well, to be great in that Seattle offense. And Kenneth Walker is going to pretty much take over that role. So once again, Rashaad Penny, his injuries got in the way, and he didn't. he did what he does every year, and he does well, and he got hurt.
How you feeling, Jason? You pretty drunk?
Oh my gosh, yes.
All right.
That kombucha tea is something on me.
All right, here we go.
All right.
So, next up, Melvin Gordon.
9th round, Melvin Gordon. He's another one. Why not? He's not going to get you so many yards, but that guy's going to get those goal line carries. And now they got Russell Wilson on the team. They're going to be scoring more points.
Who is this guy? Melvin Gordon III. I was like super high on this dude because I had him a few times in as a Charger, and this guy was he did pretty well for me when I needed him. Yeah, he got injured. He would miss a few games, but I feel like the last couple of years where he's been playing for the Broncos, like he wasn't getting a lot of touches, a lot of yards per carry wasn't as high, but he was getting the touchdowns. But when Javonte Williams went out, I was like, dude, this is it. This is the guy who I was talking about. They didn't even trust in him. The Broncos didn't even trust in him. Brought in Latavius Murray, who did better than Melvin Gordon. And like Melvin Gordon only had like 2 games over 10 points. There were some games that he got 0 when he rushed the ball like 3 times. And he ended up, being like the 5th back for the Kansas City Chiefs and ended up winning the Super Bowl. But
yeah, and I think the biggest thing, Jason, was that he was the red zone running back. He was the touchdown running back last year. Even if he got 10 carries, he get a touchdown, So this year he didn't even get red zone carries. And he got over 10 carries per game first 3 games. That was it. Then he got -2 points against Las Vegas, man, and it was like from then on out, man. So I think Melvin Gordon was actually a huge bust this year because
absolutely
you drafted him because everybody believes not only did he do bad, but the Broncos in general were just terrible. So it's like a combination of it compounded itself into just a terrible situation. So Melvin Gordon was one of the bigger busts.
Yeah, he ended up out of the top 50. You know what? And it got to the point that halfway through the season that he wasn't even being used. But he still got himself that ring.
Yeah, so that was your first bust, but I mean, you just had a bunch of hits, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits before that bust. So, Jason, next up, here's another bust, you big dog. James Cook.
This one I'm kind of reaching on a little bit in the 9th round too, because you just don't know. But he's got some pretty good DNA, and I'll have to go with James Cook. Right now, I'm all in on the Bills. Like, let's just get everybody, because our high power.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I were big on this guy. I mean, we've talked about him enough. Like, we thought that he was going to be the guy that is going to get 80 to 90 to 100 receptions this year, just out of the backfield, and like, put him in the open field so he could just outrun and like uh, and miss tackles on players. But Josh Allen and that offense, they don't believe in their running backs, so they didn't use them, and he ended up being 44th overall.
Yeah, so we've gone over James Cook a couple times. Go check that out. That's not a bad call on Jason. It was just like you learn things through the years with certain teams. Like we've learned, you don't want running backs from the Chiefs or the Bills, so that's just how it goes. Jason, you and I both missed on this next one because I thought he was actually going to do really well this next year. I thought the quarterback was going to actually play better, but he actually regressed. Elijah Moore.
It's the Jets, but we've seen Elijah Moore actually do well in that system under Flacco or Wilson. But either way, I think the Jets are going to be playing from behind, and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot.
Yes, I'm on board with that. Where I thought he was going to do better. I said in my video that he had rapport with these quarterbacks, all three of these quarterbacks, and Garrett Wilson, they did draft him, but he was going to be a rookie. I didn't think he was going to do as well as he did. Didn't Garrett Wilson, didn't he get like rookie of the year?
Offensive rookie of the year?
Offensive rookie of the year?
I think so.
Yeah, playing on the Jets, I did not expect that. So I thought it was going to be Elijah Moore, but even Elijah Moore himself was sitting here and he was complaining with the staff, like, why am I not getting the ball more? Like what is going on? Why are they not throwing me the ball? And this guy, he ended up out of the top 50 as wide receivers. He only had one game over 10 points, was against Chicago, where he had a touchdown for 13 points and half point PPR. But Elijah Moore, being the guy who we thought he was going to be, did not end up that way. The wide receivers did not throw him the ball. They were more focused on Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, so Garrett Wilson was a target hog. That's the way it ended up. And I do want to say I did call his one start where he got a touchdown, 13 points. But hey, who's keeping score? Jason, I want to get into your hits real fast. Drake London.
That's another division where they're probably going to get stomped on. They're going to have to probably throw the ball a lot. I think it might take a while, but I think eventually he's going to really set in as a flex or a number 2 wide receiver for your team.
Yeah, so I had, Drake London. He was a guy that was going to go there and be like be the dude for Atlanta, right? We weren't really sure who was going to be the number one quarterback just because they went and drafted another quarterback. But this guy, he ended up being 34th overall, but he averaged like 8 points a game in half point PPR. And if you were drafting him later than what I think a lot of people in our league got him, I think he would have been like okay, because he ended up with what, 1, 2, 3, 4. He ended up with like 4 touchdowns as Marcus Mariota as the quarterback for majority of the year.
Yeah, and so I think that next season, like if they actually trade for Justin Fields, like they're kind of talking about, I think that Drake London would be amazing. But dude, once Ritter got in there, he was amazing. Like he was averaging like 10, 9 targets a game, 10 targets a game. So in the end, he got people. I think he got through people some, not championships, but through the playoffs decently as the third wide receiver. And you called that, and I was just looking at this, Jason. You had 10 hits to 3 bust. So, nice. Yeah, right. So talking about your next hit, Jason, George, what's up?
No, go on. Who?
George Pickens.
another rookie, but this guy is kind of built different. Like if you go to videos, all he does is push DBs down. And I gotta go with George Pickens.
Yeah, I was pretty big on George Pickens just because I saw some of his college play. And this guy was just like, he looked like kind of a beast where he was just like pushing people over and, cornerbacks over. Like they would call him and they call him out like, hey, yo, you, me, man, we're going to fight in the parking lot after that. And George Pickens was like, bro, I'm going to take you down right now and push him down. He got receptions during the game, right? I mean, actually, he got targeted quite a bit, but he didn't get a lot of receptions. His downfall was that he wasn't really targeted a lot in the red zone. And we also, when you have like Pat Freiermuth and you have Najee Harris, it's hard to get that many receptions. But it looked like there was some sort of like rapport between Pickett and Perkins, right? Oh my gosh. Pickens.
yeah.
Ooh.
No, Pickett. So Pickens and Pickett.
Pickett and Pickens. This 9% is really kicking my butt right now. And I think, next year he's going to be a number 2. There's a chance that rapport is even going to grow even more.
Yeah, so Deontay Johnson was the target hog there, but dude, George Pickens would always lead in yards and like important, red zone targets and stuff like that. I don't think Deontay Johnson broke some record for targets without a touchdown. And then, but George Pickens next year is kind of like, it's kind of like interesting because Deontay Johnson's staying there and he's still going to be a target hog because they paid him so much. But dude, George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth were, as soon as Pickett got in, that's all he targeted. If you watch, like I watched it on my phone, man, I was like, oh my God, that was it because I was a Freiermuth owner. But Jason, speaking of Freiermuth, Pat Freiermuth was next on your list. That was a good pick.
Yes. Before that, Tyler, we got the final 3 for tight end before we close up this episode. Do you want to just like take a little break again and come right back?
Oh, we say final 3 for tight end. Oh yeah. Okay. Because I was like, dude, I was like, boom, boom, boom.
You were doing it, man. I just couldn't keep up. I can't keep up right now.
All right, just invite me real fast.
Okay.
Because I gotta eat, dude. I'm starving.
I know. I'm me too. I'm so hungry. Okay.
Okay.
Send you an invite.
Okay. Okay. If you stuck around this long, you're almost there.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're probably just listening to this on your way to work or something, maybe. on your 2-hour commute, Anyways, we're getting to the tight ends. Jason had the good idea to stop it before we got to the tight ends. I think I drafted Pat Freiermuth. No, I drafted Cole Kmet and then picked up Pat Freiermuth. Jason, your call off the waiver wire, and I think I kept him till the end of the year.
Freiermuth, whatever his name is. He had 6 touchdowns last year. I think he's going to be a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns more. But if Kenny Pickett gets that starting job for the Steelers, I think he's going to actually rely on the tight end a lot because what is a rookie quarterback's best friend? Their tight end.
Who'd you keep?
Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah. So what I had Pat Freiermuth because I did the whole thing where it was like, rookie quarterback because I knew Trubisky. I was like, there's just a matter of time before he gets replaced, right? Trubisky, he had that one good year, but I'm like, he's not a great quarterback. He's eventually going to get replaced. Mike Tomlin is going to put in Pickett, and he did. So I'm like, who is Pickett's number 1? Because he's a rookie. Who is his best friend? I was thinking just like Pat Freiermuth, and this is a guy that you could get like super late in the rounds. And he ended up being position ranked number 10, and he averaged near 7 points in half-point PPR.
Yeah, and I mean, as a Pat Freiermuth owner, as soon as I was waiting for the day, dude, that Pickett went in. I was always listening to the radio, like, hey, put Pickett in. And as soon as he went in, I think he had like 8 or 9 targets that game, and it wasn't even a full game. So I was super pumped, and it was kind of often, it was kind of hit or miss, but he's still going. It was a second year tight end, and tight ends usually don't pop until their third year statistically. So I'm looking forward to next year for Pat Freiermuth. I think that Pat Freiermuth and George Pickens, because they're going to coincide. The pop year for a wide receiver is a second year. That's when they get the biggest growth in fantasy. And then
Right.
tight end is usually third year. So these are both going to coincide with Kenny Pickens. And so, yeah, I mean, the Steelers need to invest heavily into their offensive line, because I think I told you this, Jason. Like, I'm going to really pay attention to offensive lines this year. And their offensive line sucks, dude. So, like, if they need to do some stuff, and everybody is talking about how they need to do stuff there. So we'll see what happens next year. But Kenny Pickett was also one of the people with his gloves. You know, he had those gloves. He's Kurt Warnering it out of there super fast. He was one of the fastest releases, you know, in the NFL. So,
Well, you probably had to learn that trait just because of how bad their offensive line was.
yeah. So,
But like,
sorry.
I mean, I'm totally on board with that. Mike Tomlin has got to work on that offensive line and defense. But I mean, like Najee Harris, you know, they kept giving that dude the ball. That dude's going to he has the volume, right? He has the volume, but he is not able to produce with that volume. And I think part of that thing is they need to work on that offensive line. So I think overall, I mean, you know, with Pat Freiermuth, number 10 in the position, you know, with 12 people in the league, he likely was on your starting team, and he got 9 points in week 16, and he got 10 points in week 14. Other than that, he didn't do pretty well, but he probably was one of those players that's like he could be consistent for you, or you know, like for him it was like every like 2 games I did well, but he did okay in the playoffs. He did all right.
Yeah, and I'm targeting somebody above him. Like, he's not in the tier that I really want next year. I'm really want a good tight end and a good quarterback next year, hopefully.
Samesies.
So, I mean, I'll just, you know, like I said, man, I'll gamble on all the other positions. I can do whatever. Get a Jahan Dotson or whatever.
Yep.
Anyways, moving forward, Jason.
Okay.
Moving forward. Dawson Knox.
In the 12th round, you get Dawson Knox. And of course, like I said earlier, I want everybody on the Bills. They are a passing machine.
You drafted him, correct?
Yes. This was one of the most frustrating things that happened to me this year, is that I drafted this guy and I got him in the later rounds. He ended up being 14th overall, but this was a guy, he wasn't getting a lot of receptions. Let's see what I got here.
Dude,
you know, he averaged. So for tight ends this year, I was hoping to have a tight end that was between like 7 and 10 points for an average. He averaged 7.1. He had 6 touchdowns. He ended up getting 6 touchdowns, or he ended up getting a touchdown a game from week 14, which is the fantasy playoffs, where he got 12 points, 18 points, 10 points, 8 points, which is okay by me. You know, I mean, Travis Kelce was the guy who was the most common player that was in championship teams, but I would still be okay with getting Dawson Knox that late. He ended up as 14th, and that's just because the early part of the year when I dropped him, you know, because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. The early part of the year, he didn't do so well, but he really started to pick it up.
Yeah, dude. So, I mean, I was looking at some Skip Bayless news that just came out today. I was like, oh my God, I don't even watch this. But
what did he say?
He said that white owners don't want to hire black coaches because of their wives.
Oh,
like,
what?
Like, they're gonna get stolen, man. Like, because, you know, it's just, he plays in the stereotypical, you know, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Leave that for old white people.
Right.
Whatever, dude. Anyways, I was because, you know, I went to Google something, and it's like it gives you like the list of like, you know, hot stuff going on right now instead, and it said Skip Bayless, and I was like, well, we're talking sports, I better click on that real fast. I wish I didn't, but Dawson Knox, that's what you were talking about. Yeah, dude. Oh, I was going to see tight end touchdowns for the year, but he did really well, and that saved his season, was catching all those touchdowns late. Otherwise, he would have been a huge bust. And next season, I'm not really looking for him, dude. The only receiving option I want from the Bills is Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I said you should get Dawson Knox is because of the Buffalo Bills' firepower on the throwing, right? Like you had Josh Allen as the quarterback. You know, he's just throwing the ball 40 times a game, like a Patrick Mahomes. Like, I just want a little piece of that pie. And Dawson Knox, I feel like, you know, he could get his, but I gave up on him, you know, early. But it was towards the end of the season where if you had him on your team, that he really helped you out.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't terrible. He's just in that tier of tight end that I'm not going to get. I'm going to go either top tier or wait till the very end, and he's going to be somewhere in the middle. So that's why I don't really care. But yeah, dude, I mean, he probably got somebody a championship because I think he might have outperformed Travis Kelce, because I know Travis Kelce at the end of the season wasn't doing that hot. I mean, he was getting his targets and everything, but he just wasn't getting touchdowns.
Yeah, and Dawson Knox was getting touchdowns in the last. Well, I mean, not including the game against Cincinnati where they had to, you know, stop it in the second quarter, I think it was, because of the injured player. But
right.
Other than that, from week 14 to week 18, he had a touchdown.
Yeah, you're right. Oh man, sorry. So are you ready for your last panic player, Jason?
Who is my last panic player? Let's see who
it was. It was a really, really good call, because people, I mean, I don't even know if he was drafted, dude. And he hit the league. He hit the season with 11 targets from Matthew Stafford, Tyler Higbee.
And it could be Slim Pickens, but he did get some receptions. He only had about 5 touchdowns last year, but there's a chance he's going to stay around that number, but he's going to get his receptions. You know, they like getting him the ball around this line of scrimmage when you need the first down or a couple yards. He's usually the guy, you know.
Yeah, so Tyler Higbee was a guy that I was going to have like super late because he doesn't really score a lot of touchdowns. You know, on the Rams, you had other options instead of Tyler Higbee, but I said that Tyler Higbee was going to be a guy that, like, when it's pretty close to the first down, like it's 2nd and 3, you know, 3 and 4, you're going to pass the ball to Tyler Higbee just to get your first down. And in the PPR, he got enough receptions where he ended up number 6 tight end overall. And this guy only had 3 touchdowns on the whole season, but he got enough receptions in the beginning, especially in the beginning of the year when you had Matthew Stafford throwing him the ball. The only thing is, it's like if you got to the playoffs with Tyler Higbee, you know, it was week 16 against Denver where he had 2 touchdowns for 25 points and a half-point PPR. And the week before that, he got you 10 points with another touchdown. But after that, in week 17 and week 18, he only got you like 3 points or 5 points.
Yeah, dude. So I mean, he ended up, people traded for him in our league. Matt did. You remember that? He traded for him, and then he kind of just fell off. But it was all tied to Matthew Stafford. So next season, I think that Tyler Higbee is going to be a tight end that I would not mind having, really. I mean, because Matthew Stafford, I think they're going to reload and come back. I think they're going to trade away Jalen Ramsey, get a bunch of offensive linemen in there. So I don't think it's a terrible idea to target Tyler Higbee next year if you can get him at a reasonable price. But dude, I mean, if you stuck with him, he was getting a lot of targets at the end of the year with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and this was one of those years where the Los Angeles Rams they surprised everybody for how bad they did. McVay, there was even a chance that he wasn't even he wasn't going to come back just because of how the organization did. But also, this was like a team that they kind of did it to themselves. They invested so much on certain players, right? Money, draft picks, trading players. But when those players don't perform or they get injured, like a Matthew Stafford or a Cooper Kupp, your season is pretty much over. So next year, when players are coming back like healthy, Matthew Stafford has another year on him. He's getting kind of up there in age, but he might still look to Tyler Higbee as a security blanket throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about that. And I even think that Matthew Stafford might be a value next year. But the problem is that they paid Allen Robinson some decent money, and it's like pretty much dead cat money now. And what are they going to do? They're just going to kick him out? Like, unless something happens dramatically with Allen Robinson, I think that's going to hinder Matthew Stafford's success. And then, dude, Cam Akers, all that situation. I'm going to have to see how that plays out before I really believe in that team. But if anybody's going to turn it around, I do think that they can. I think they'll get rid of players they need to. They tried to get rid of Cam Akers and they couldn't do that. And then he actually produced, but I would never believe in that guy.
Yeah, me either. I feel like we're going to have to see a lot during the offseason with the Rams to see if there's like any players that we're going to try to draft high with
acquire. Yeah, no, draft high. You're right.
Acquire high, but as of right now, and I don't even know what more they can do. I mean, other than draft somebody, I don't know what more they can do to have me get anybody reasonably high except Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah, Cooper Kupp. You're right. Because Cooper Kupp, dude, if Matthew Stafford's healthy, I'm picking up Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
I mean, not where I'm drafting because there's a couple options I'd rather have before him, but he's the number 3 wide receiver on our list right now.
Yep.
All right, Jason. I think that might be it.
I think you might be right.
So that was go over all of our mistakes episode, go over just everything that we predicted and let you know how we did. Jason killed it on that list. I mean, that was ridiculous. He probably brought our average up to like 65%. So,
oh yeah, it's a team effort, Tyler. It's you and I both, man.
Well, we actually did really well, except for my quarterback running back list. Other than that, like we did like 75%. But my quarterback running back list just killed it.
I think my wide receiver list kind of like took a dump in a outhouse, but
yeah.
Other than that, like overall, I mean, if you're not injuries, no one can really predict injuries, right? So over. Oh my gosh,
over and out.
Oh, other than that, I think you and I did pretty well for this 2022 season.
And the good news is, Jason, that I'm going to be even better next year because I learned an important lesson this last year is don't listen to all the hype, man. Like I always get super into fantasy football, but I guess I just took too much into consideration this next year. Believe your own thoughts. Like, we tell you crap, but it's like, dude, believe in yourself, man. Yeah, that's what makes you, this is what gives you the edge over everybody else. It's not you listen to other people and then copying them. It's like you have to make your own tweaks and stuff. So
yeah.
I mean, that's why I wish I would have not gone with every single wide receiver that was hyped up.
Yeah. So season 2, year 2 of the Fantasy Footballin' Show. Does that make us experts?
Hell, dude, we put in the thousands of hours. Was it 10,000 hours makes you an expert? I'm thinking we're past that.
Okay. So people need to listen to us because we are becoming experts, and we still got a whole year of discussing things that can help you guys in the future, your future fantasy draft.
Yeah, and we're gonna be coming on every Monday, maybe every Friday for sure. Sometimes every Monday, whatever, dude. Well, whatever we feel like, but it's probably gonna be every Friday.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I could talk other sports right now. I forgot what I was in, like MMA. Oh yeah, that one guy. Anyways,
LeBron James is the leading scorer in NBA history,
and Anthony Davis didn't even celebrate. Did you see that?
Yeah, he was like,
he wants me gone. I hate him.
my ankle hurts. I don't want to stay.
If my ankle didn't hurt, I'd put my foot up his butt.
Yeah, you punk.
So anyways, if you made it to the end of this, thank you so much. Hey, those 2 subscribers, thank you so much, man. Like, this is amazing. This is our longest episode ever, and it probably will be our longest episode ever.
Yeah, until next February 17th, whatever today is. February 17th. We got to do predictions again.
All right, people. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to get some food and talk to you later. So catch you on the flip side.